Welcome back to CALLOUS Invitational 3 Grand Finals Game 3 in what has been the Triangle Show. That is not to say that he has rolled over Asta. He hasn't. The games have been relatively close, but Triangles has been one step ahead in both of them, and he has a commanding 2-0 lead. This could be the final game of the tournament. Asta, with his back against the wall, must win 3 games in a row. Cannot drop another one, or his tour is over and he is the runner-up. Triangles here trying to close it out. Like I said, this could be the very last game of CALLOUS Invitational 3. Let's find out if it is. Triangles for the third time is on the bottom, and Asta is on the top. Swampert lead and Metagross lead respectively. Fortress coming down for Triangles, and Psychic there is aimed at Swampert. This is the second, maybe even the third time if I'm remembering, that Asta is opting to bring mixed Metagross against Triangles here. Hidden Power there is HP Fire that was aimed at Fortress. That's going to be scouted and resisted by the incoming Tyranitar. Swampert comes in knowing that there is no HP Grass. However, a great Psychic prediction for Asta, going Psychic into the T-Tar and nailing the Swampert on the way in. Triangles made a similar play early in Game 1, and it worked out really well. Protect there blocks a subsequent Psychic, but the lucky crit there was nice. And it's actually the very rare Pursuit Metagross, which you do not see very often. Pursuit is a special move, not a physical move in this gen, and he doesn't have stab on it, so it's kind of weak, so you don't see it a lot. But it did a decent chunk there. Swampert in the red. Dugtrio is going to bail him out, however. He takes a big chunk, but he's going to kill the meta. So finally that threat has been resolved, but both the Dugtrio and the Swampert are very low right now. Asta's got an Aerodactyl, and he's going to show his choice band move is going to be Earthquake here. So if Triangles has a Gengar or something that is immune to Earthquake, he can switch it in for free here. Asta actually specifically anticipates Gengar and gets his T-Tower out in front of it, but instead Triangle's going to simply opt to Spike. And Asta for the third game in a row has his trusty Fori, but let me pause right there. That was a brilliant play for Asta. I hope you guys caught exactly what he did there. So he goes to Tyranitar there, Asta does, into the Fortress. And the most obvious play that he's baiting is for Fortress to go for Explosion so the T-Tar cannot set up, can't DD up or whatever he may want to do. And then Triangles would simply follow up on the Explosion with the Dugtrio, making use of his low, almost dead Dugtrio and killing the T-Tar. So it would effectively be a trade of Fortress for the Tyranitar. So Asta specifically baited that play out from Triangles because that's the most logical thing to do. And then he pulls it back to Skarm, so the Fortress instead blows up on that. And that is so brilliant and crucial from Asta. Not only was that masterfully played and just so tantalizing for Triangles who took it, but now Triangles has lost his Rapid Spinner, which counters the crap out of Skarmory, and now Skarm could just go wild and set up a bunch of spikes. And this is keeping in mind that the Swampert is at 14% and the Dugtrio is at 13%. So now the spikes are a major threat to simply KO these Pokemon. That was an incredible play from Asta. He just baited that so perfectly. Makes a fantastic read on Triangles. And Asta is in great shape in this game. I think he's in a commanding position after that sequence. Gengar comes in. Did Asta opt for the Skarm Bliss? Well, he's not going to show it here. He's just going to go for Protect. But that certainly does not mean that there's not a Blissey in the back. There very well could be. We've seen nothing even close to a special wall for Asta thus far. Dugtrio comes in just in case there is a Blissey. That's a smart anticipation play from Triangles, but Asta doesn't fall for that, and he gets spikes down. And I think Triangles is in ultra, mega, uber, super trouble now, because with the second layer of spikes that Triangles cannot remove, both the Dugtrio and the Swampert are effectively dead right now. So while they do have uses as fodder, such as messing with the Aerodactyl, nevertheless, this is essentially a 5-3 game with Asta in the lead, and he does have a Blissey too. That's so backbreaking because now the Dugtrio can't even kill it. Yeah, the Gengar can trade with it, but Asta would be so fine with that, and beyond the Gengar blowing up on it, which it may not even have, the Blissey seems very safe. There's Ice Beam trying to fight the Gengar, not afraid at all, but I mean, this game, Asta's just done everything right. That one play was so devastating. You can argue that Triangle shouldn't have gone for it, but I mean, that's easier said than done. That was just so well played for Asta. Blowing up there and then just going Dugtrio into the T-Tar is a great play on paper. It's exactly what you're supposed to do for Triangles, and Asta, who obviously respects the shit out of Triangles, has dropped 2 games in a row to him, gave him the credit for doing what he thought would be the obviously best play, and in fact, Triangles walked right into it. It was just such a good play for Asta, and I think that one play really is just going to snowball into him winning the game. I mean, Asta's just so far ahead right now. The Blissey's a huge problem as a wall. The Aerodactyl can absolutely clean up. Both the Swampert and the Dugtrio are insta-dead the second they come in, and in fact, the Swampert just did that right now. So we have an official lead for Asta now of 5-4, but it's essentially 5-3. There is Protect. Let's see, Blissey, yeah, she's at 70% here. So if Blissey wants to come into the Gengar here, she can do so very safely with really not a whole lot to fear. There's a Will-O-Wisp miss for insult to injury. Not huge punishment back, just a Drill Peck 39%. But really, when Asta's already ahead, Triangles can not really afford to have things like a miss happen. And he did, in fact, get one. But this time, Will-O-Wisp is going to connect. That's going to make the Drill Pecks do, instead of 39%, only 19%, thanks to the attack reduction of the burn. Thunderbolt there, 52%. And Asta's pretty content at this point to just let the Skarm go. He doesn't see a lot of additional use for it, and given what is remaining for Triangles, I think that's probably a pretty fair assessment of the situation. And indeed, Skarm bites the dust. We've got ourselves a, air quotes, 4-4 game, but not really. Asta is significantly ahead. Here comes Dugtrio. That is simply going to be fodder, so we've got ourselves a 4-3. And Triangles is going to go to T-Tar. He thinks this is his last hope. He is going to have to set up a T-Tar here and do some work. And the last poke for Asta is, in fact, Swampert, a very reliable answer to T-Tar. There is Ice Beam, which might be a DD Ice Beam set without HP Grass, but it also could be a Special Tar. Asta does not scout for it. He goes straight for the Surf here. That's going to connect with Blissey. Triangle's going to be at 33%, but can get the soft boiled off, and does. Blissey seems to be faster. No, Swampert is Roar, so maybe it was faster. We don't know, but it's going to drag out Gengar, who's shown only Thunderbolt and Will-O-Wisp. Unlikely, based on what we've seen so far, that it is going to want to blow up here, but he does have a Grass attack. There's Giga Drain, and Surf gets the exact damage roll that he needs. It's going to just barely kill the Gengar with the addition of the Sand. And Triangle's in some trouble now. He's got only Blissey and T-Tar against 4 pokes, one of which is Aerodactyl from Astamatitos. Unlucky Toxic miss for Asta, a little bit annoying, but I think he's enough ahead to where he can afford things like that. And on the second attempt, he will connect with it. This is going to put Triangles in a rough spot because the Aerodactyl can come in the second the Swampert dies to the poison. It's basically a free switch in, and I don't know how Triangles responds to that, but I don't think he's got a great answer by any means given what he has left. Both Earthquake and Rock Slide are devastating in the position that Triangles is in. And Asta realizes that. He's just going to let his Swampert go. There's no saving it at this point. Triangle's trying to get as much health as he can before the Swampert succumbs and it gets replaced by the very dangerous Aerodactyl. And T-Tar going to come down instead. If this is a DD-Tar, which, yep, we see here it is, I believe this game is over. There is Toxic that's going to be lummed away, but it is basically irrelevant here because the Toxic has taken its toll on Blissey. It is now damned if you do, damned if you don't. Double Edge going to be the KO. Triangle's going to come in with his own T-Tar, step on the spikes, be in range of a +1 Earthquake, and Asta simply needs to click the button to send us to a Game 4. So Asta is not ready to die just yet. Had his back against the wall down 0-2, and he is still down 1-2, but he needed this game in order to stay alive in the tournament, and he's going to be in the same position next game as well. He must win that game to remain alive in the tournament and force a decisive Game 5. Can Asta, who the prediction thread thought was the favorite in this matchup, manage to pull this comeback off? We will see Game 4 coming up next, but do not forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.